Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Focus on Liberia. This is a special edition of Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition, again, we are live on Prime FM 105.5, broadcasting in Monrovia. We are live with, it is an exclusive interview with Friends of Gonglo Global, that is a group of Liberians who came together to foster the political and presidential ambition of Councillor Tiawan C. Gonglo. The team tonight is represented by Dr. Panedo, who is joining me and right here in Metro Atlanta. Dr. Do, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis, for having us.
And Dr. Do is the Deputy Executive Director of Friends of Gonglo Global. We also have a journalist, Joe, who is also a staunch member of the Friends of Gonglo Global. Joe, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jar.
And by the way, this is your first time on Focus on Liberia, so we offer you a bottle of water to say, feel at home.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Last but not the least is veteran journalist and also former TRC commissioner who is part of the Friends of Gonglo, Massa Emilio Washington. Massa, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Dennis. A pleasure always.
And we want to welcome our viewers across the globe. Again, this is Focus on Liberia, and we are live on Prime FM. At this time, I switch things over to my colleague, Mr. Prince Momba, who is also on the phone at Prime FM. Prince, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dennis. It's good again to be on the platform tonight, so that our Liberian citizens across the world and other viewers across the world can hear from us here in Liberia, and also hear from you guys in the diaspora as they relate to the growth and development of our country and all has to do with Mama Liberia. So it's great to be on tonight.
Thank you so much. And I'm on here with Friends of Gonglo. So let me start with the Deputy Executive Director to tell me about this group called Friends of Gonglo, their aims and objectives, and what are they trying to do here. Dr. Do.
Thank you so much, Dennis. It's quite a pleasure being on your show. I have known you for quite a while. When you started early, a couple of years ago, and I think I was one of your first guinea pigs to launch the Focus on Liberia. When you started in the church basement, and then I've seen your institution blossom and grow. Now, regarding the Friends of Gonglo, this is a nonprofit 501c4 organization. It started about 5 or 6 months ago, actually, that brought together like-minded Liberians here, especially in the diaspora of the United States, who felt the strong need to put their support behind someone that felt had the right qualities and credentials for leadership for Liberia. And so the past 4 or 5 months, this group has been meeting. Our goal or mission is twofold. One, to help provide financial support to a young campaign on the ground, as well as to create awareness about the need for good governance in Liberia. So those are the two things we continuously working on. Our membership extends far and wide across the United States, in various states where Liberians are heavily concentrated, as well as amongst non-Liberians who have an interest in seeing good governance in Liberia. So I'll just pause there. That's basically what our organization is about.
Thank you. Let me go to the journalist, Joe. I mean, why Tiawan Gonglo?
That's a very good question. Why Tiawan Gonglo? It's another way of asking, are you satisfied with the ongoing situation in Liberia? What I want Gonglo. The Liberian presidency is for 6 years. So when one is elected, it takes a very long time. So the bulk of the Liberian people, majority, um, seem to be concerned about the downward, the trend of our society. Just the other day, we heard that uh, an airline, Airbus, had gone to land at the Rabat International Airport, and the light went off, so they couldn't land. We are the oldest independent nation in Africa, and we are very eager to knock our chest about that. But beyond our age as a nation, what else? So what I want Gonglo, because he has the integrity, because he has the credibility, he has the competence to get the job done. The state of affairs in our country is really mind-boggling. It is troubling. Our nation is going down the doldrums of underdevelopment. So after scrupulously surveying the political landscape of our country, some Liberians from all over have realized that at this point in time, Councillor Gonglo is the best person to occupy the executive chair, so that our country will be given a generational opportunity to move forward. Somebody who believes that public service is not an opportunity to steal public funds. Somebody who has been there over the years with more than 30 years of legal practice as a human rights advocate. So why Tawan Gonglo? Because Liberians from diverse backgrounds have identified this gentleman to be the best person to occupy the presidency come 2023.
Thank you. And let me come to you, Ms. Washington, because to admit I've known you so long and in the journalism, I don't remember you identifying with, and I could be wrong, with any political party or candidate. What brought you to this team?
Yeah, absolutely, Dennis. You're absolutely right. I don't usually dabble in the politics, and I will say here, my association with Councillor Gunglo is based strictly. I'm a friend of the family. He's a brother, a big brother, and mentor. So, if this was the code of law, I would be someone who you would consider character witness. So, while I'm not, involved in his campaign, physically, but as a friend of his, and then as one of those young sisters that he mentored, I would like to put in a word as to why I think he's a better candidate.
Before you continue, you talk about character witness. There are a lot of subpoenas going around, but I can assure you there's no subpoena for you as a witness. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So I would just like to stick to the facts. Like I said, I'm close to the Gonglo family. I know Tiamon, his family, his wife, his sister, his siblings. I'm very close to them. So I would try to take out my personal, my emotions about how I see him as a big brother and somebody that I love and respect. I would just stick to the facts. So we all know that any empirical research will tell you and will reveal that past behavior is a predictor of future behavior. meaning that people establish history by the languages they use, by the utterances, by the actions and the deeds. So me, for the Liberian people, I am looking at the history that Councillor Tiawonse Gonglo has created. What he has been saying all these years that we've come to know him as a public figure, a brother, a friend, and also what he has been doing. And I'm actually impressed by the history that Councillor Tiawon Gonglo has created. He has been honest, he has been kind, he has been very concerned about his fellow Liberians from across the board, from all walks of life. Tiawon Gonglo is someone who he is friends with everybody from all of the 15 counties, from all of the tribes. He has good friends. He takes out for people. He's pro bono lawyer. He's poor man lawyer for everybody across the board. And he's also concerned about the future of Liberia. So if you are looking for a patriot, a real patriot, that person would be Tiawon Gonglo. When you're talking the patriots of those days who built this great country, people like the founding fathers of the United States, George Washington, all these people, the one who said, "Give me liberty or give me death." When I'm thinking about them, the person that I equate to them at this time that comes to mind immediately is Tiawon Gonglo. So Tiawon Gonglo has a disarming and amicable personality that makes you feel comfortable in his presence. But mind you, though, underneath all that favorite uncle personality and stuff is a man of steel, meaning that Tiawon will stick to what is right. He will stick to what he knows is right. And that's what draws someone like me to him, because I believe in the truth. As a journalist, I was trained to believe that the truth is my defense. In everything I do, I try to aspire to that principle. So to see a Liberian who has been consistently truthful since I've been knowing him as a person, who says, "I'd rather die poor than to cheat the Liberian people, than to work against the interests of the Liberian people, than to hurt the Liberian people." So to see this kind of Liberian, actually, he's a rare gem. And this is why, as a friend of the family and as someone who knows him as a younger sister to him, I think, he's a better person. He's the kind of leader that you would think Liberia needs and that Liberians should really look forward to.
Thank you. Dr. Doe, you've been around for a while now, and I'm not doing this agency thing, but I follow you. You have started with the progressive and all that, and now you are here. I hope you are not in this, has a form of a protest, but you actually want to support someone who's going to win. Is Councillor Tiawonse Gonglo a winnable candidate in your view, and why?
Absolutely. I think Tiawon has record makes him a winnable candidate. Just as Massa and Joe said, this is a man with a very long and distinguished track record, an anti-corruption record for that matter. If you look at starting from his student days as a student activist, Tiawon has remained very consistent, speaking about the national issues of our times. And as he grew to become even a professional, working in various governments, mainly the interim government of Dr. Sawyer, as well as the recent past government of Ellen Sirleaf, you can see that all the positions he's held, he's maintained his integrity holding those positions. And then, of course, when he left government and spearheaded the Liberian Bar Association, he also left with a very distinguished record of integrity. So this man also has, cuts across all demographics, all regional geographies of the country. I mean, he's a public figure in his own right. You know, he knows people from everywhere. The constituency that is now building behind him is very strong. Anyone you reach out to and ask about Tiawan, they will tell you, oh, even though I may not know him personally, but I've heard great things, good things about Tiawan. So if you're lining up with other people in the race on any issue, on any matter, he comes out strong. So the short of the long is that yes, Tiawan will be a formidable candidate in this race. No doubt, because of the record he has that can be placed against anyone. I have known Tiawan now for well close to 40 years. It's since our student days, left student activism. We all started our young adult lives. You know, I probably was a year or two ahead of him. And we've maintained good friendship all throughout the years. And he's not been someone who waver. He's always been a principled person. So some of us are into this. We've been in and out of politics. I have never run for public office, but because I have not found any candidate over the last 3 election cycles that I could really support. But when Tiawan decided to accept a petition to run, some of us felt that we could no longer sit on the fence. It was time to throw our support behind someone we think has the right qualities to bring good leadership to that country.
Thank you. And let me go to you, Joe. You've been a journalist, you follow politics, you watch or follow the elections that brought to power Charles Taylor, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and now Weah. One of the things you hear from the Tiawan side is integrity. And I also follow Tiawan, watch him. He has the broom to sweep bad governance, corruption, and all that. All of the presidents since Charles Taylor, they did not win on integrity. In fact, Dr. Tukpana Tipote carried the same broom, and he hardly gets even 5% of the vote. What is the Tiawan difference that he's going to win with integrity as his core message this time that Tipote or the rest of the people did not do? And then there is no history from Charles Taylor to now anybody winning because of integrity. What's your response?
Okay. He will win. We are optimistic because Tiawan is not an armchair politician. He has already begun dismantling some of the myths within the Liberian political theater. That is the past New Year, the ushering in of 2022. By December 29, Councillor Gonglo was in Grand Jide County, and he spent 2 or 3 days there. It was in Grand Jide that the son of Nimba County decided to celebrate the ushering in of 2022, because some of the things that people do in Liberia is to pit one ethnic group against another so that they will reap the political dividend. But Councillor Gunglo is man of the people. He had been a serviceable public servant over the years, even before he became a lawyer in 1988. So his the shared diversity of the Gonglo movement. At the moment, we have 29 political parties in Liberia. Some of them are nominal parties. Some of them exist only in the black bags of their funders and standard bearer whatsoever. The Tiawan Gonglo movement is a movement, just as I indicated in a piece that I wrote sometime in November last year, that the Teen Gonglo movement is following the course of nature. That is, as I indicated in that piece of article, that you see a big oak tree that may grow to be maybe 300 feet. It comes from a very small seed. So last year, September 4th, some young Liberians gathered in Buchanan, Grand Bassa County, and resolved among themselves that they are look at the political landscape of the country, and they believed that Councillor Gonglo is the best person, because the young people that met in Buchanan and came out with the 10-point agenda, they believe that integrity is the political capital that can be utilized for the benefit of the Liberian people. So the councillor himself has been all over the place in terms of his professional performance over the years. He's a congenial fellow. He's very sociable, down to earth. That's why he's able to, even since he announced his candidacy on December 4th, 2021, I will argue that Councillor Tiawanse Gonglo is the most visible, the most accessible politician in Liberia at the moment. He has spoken at so many graduation programs. He had attended so many social organization programs than any other politician. Even the president, the current president of the country, is not as sociable, as accessible as Councillor Gunglo is at the moment. So that alone speaks for how it presages the 2023 election. We are going beyond the superficiality. Liberians have now begun accepting substance. So his support cuts across the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me go to Massa, and then Prince, I'll bring you in to ask your question. Massa, here is my question, right? Because what will it take for someone to win the presidency? And let me give you an example. For Charles Taylor, he had the biggest gun. He had the charisma. President Sirleaf came with the being, if you had to compare her with, she had the experience, and she was the first female, the Iron Lady, and all that. George Weah came with the popularity. Tokpana Tipote came with integrity. He did not win. H. Bowman Famule, the late Dr. Marcus Dine, all these people, they came with this integrity. They came with the message. They did not win. What is Tiawan going to do differently with this same integrity issue that's going to put him on top?
I think what makes Tiawan stands out, in addition to those qualities of integrity and what have you, is the trust factor. Liberians feel that they can trust him. For the first time in a long time, when you mention Tiawan's name, even the opposition, I listened to someone from the opposition bloc the other day, a staunch member of the opposition who was giving his talk on the talk show, and he was actually cautioning his fellow partisans, saying nobody hammered Councillor Gonglo, nobody insult him, nobody, you just leave him alone. He's a good person. Everybody leave him alone. Whereas you see the rest of the people, they're just dragging them to the mud. So Tiawan has been able, in addition to establishing the integrity, he has established this thing called trust. You want to trust the person you're going to lead, put in charge of the country. You want to trust the people you work with. Dennis, I want to trust you. I want to be able to trust Dr. Joe. I want to be able to trust Joe Batwa. So trust is a major factor here. And then
is that how Liberians vote? Is that
and then no, but Dennis, you see, times are changing. Okay. So I think it would be unfair to hold Liberians are evolving. Liberians are evolving. So because they didn't vote for Dr. Tipote the last time when he, quote unquote, according to you, ran on the basis of integrity, because they didn't vote for him, maybe there were other things with Dr. Tipote that didn't resonate with the voters, and times have changed. So just because people didn't vote the way that we thought they should have voted the last time, it doesn't mean that they will not surprise us. They will not pleasantly shock us this time. We have to look. It is our duty as civil society and people who are supposed to be the ones with conscious, educated people, patriots who want good for Liberia. It is our duty every time to present our country and our fellow countrymen with the best option all the time and let them make that decision. So tomorrow, nobody is going to say, oh my God, we didn't have any better candidate to choose from. We didn't have proper alternative. Like Liberians always say, oh my God, we always have to choose between the lesser of two evils. No, this time you have a choice. You have an alternative. You have a very good candidate this time. So, let's give the Liberian people the benefit of the doubt sometimes. We can't just say, well, they voted for Taylor, they voted for We Are, all these different people. They saw different things in them, but times have changed so much. So, hopefully they get it right this time.
Thank you. Prince?
Dennis, since you mentioned Dr. Tipote's name, if I can add to what Massa has said.
Yeah, 1 minute, please.
Okay, considering the historical reality of Liberia, Dr. Tipote is one of the victims of the hegemony of the old order. So, what if, for example, in 1973 or 1972, Dr. Tipote, fresh from the United States, as the first Liberian PhD, had been given a young professor at the University of Liberia? What if our political system had been pluralistic at the time? Dr. Tipote would have probably been president of the republic. That's why when certain people who don't know much about the contemporary history of Liberia try to discredit the progressives, I frown on that, because at this time, where we even have a Weir as president of the republic, is a tribute to the activism of the progressives. Because during True Party time, it was your last name that determined where you were, what position you got in spite of your competence, your qualification at the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Prince?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, go ahead if you have any question for the guest.
Yes, I have question for the guest. Let me once more say welcome to the show. The team Tiawan Gunglo there in the diaspora. So I have questions. The first one, let's begin this way. Tiawan comes from Nima County, and Nima is the second populated county in Liberia, and it is believed in Liberia and other places that Senator Johnson remains, or he is, the godfather of Nimba. So meaning to say, any politician in Nimba, before you have that faith, you must align with Senator Johnson. But here, they're not cool. What is their faith that with the current relationship between them, the bitterness between them of just yesterday, he was on his back, that you're not going to sit in the road and decide what happens in Nimba. So how you think he can win a county that Senator Johnson still remains the godfather? That's the first one.
Yeah, let's Joe take that one. Joe, how does Tiawan get to the presidency without going through Prince Johnson?
In 1980, there was a change, a sudden change in the structure of governance in Liberia overnight. And one of the claims made by the coup makers was that the True Party had been a Sose one, Sose all for more than 100 years. And then, of course, 1981, December 25th, the late Dr. Sawyer and 24 others were commissioned by the PRC, the People's Redemption Council, to draft a new constitution And of course, we have a new constitution enforced in Liberia now, which basically has declared Liberia a pluralistic democracy. There are, as I indicated first, there are 29 political parties in the country at the moment. And one of the founders, standard bearer, happened to be Senator Prince Johnson. He has a political party. I think they call it a Movement for Democracy and Reconstruction, something like that. But the Gonglo movement transcends any political, parochial, political cleavage. So Gonglo himself personally has no problem with Senator Johnson. Just as I have indicated, he is one of the most congenial, sociable political leaders in Liberia at the moment. While it is true that Councillor Gunglo belongs to the Liberian People's Party, it is also true that his movement, the growth, the soaring of the movement, how it resonates with the Liberian people, potential voters, transcend Nimba County. Gonglo is taking his appeal to the 15 political subdivisions.
So basically, it doesn't need Prince Johnson. Is that what you're saying in essence?
Senator Johnson, he himself, I know he in 2023 he will be offered election or maybe possibly re-election. In the past, he had run for president. We don't know his intent at the moment, whether he will be seeking the presidency of Liberia or he will be seeking re-election as senator. But the people of Nimba County, our democracy, as I think Massa alluded to that our democracy is evolving. Because it is evolving, our people are beginning to take a stance.
Thank you.
In November last year, there was a by-election held in District Number 1, the district that has a Ganta, its main city, in Nimba County. Senator Johnson took about $50 million Liberian dollars from the CDC. He went on all the radio stations in Nimba County, and he presented Professor Francis Mawan as his candidate. And there was another candidate there who was an independent candidate, Samuel N. Brown. And what happened? The people of District 1 spoke. They got to know that after the 2005 election, they too needed to take a stance. They needed to be on their own. They showed to the Liberian people that there was no Moses anywhere that was to just signal his staff somewhere for everyone to follow. So I believe that the people of Liberia, from the 15 political subdivisions of the country, when it comes in 2023, they will see the light for themselves.
Thank you.
They know that they have been trying big names in the past, whether it's Harvard education, celebrated. This time, the Liberian people want to try integrity. They want to try credibility. So,
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Prince.
Yes, so thanks for the answer. So from what I'm getting there is that I do not think, I mean, at least you do not need Senator Johnson to win or to win Liberia. So the next question is, our law provides that a presidential candidate, a presidential candidate receives 50 plus 1% of the total vote cast, which makes it difficult for us to just have one round of election in Liberia. So the 2023 elections, if it goes to the second round, and your candidate is not the two tops, who will you be advising, Gonglo, Councillor Gonglo to support? What side will the team be leaning? Don't assume the election ends between the Unity Party or Kwakai and the CDC, or the Communist and the CDC, or any other political party, any ruling party, what side will your team be landing? What will you advise the political leader?
Dr. Doe.
Well, let me say that, Tiawan is in this to win, but he's not so obsessed with power that he's not able to collaborate or work with other political organizations. I want to say that we should not put the horse before the cart. I know the pattern and trend in Liberia since the last 3 election cycles is that there's always a runoff. There's always a second time. No one political party is able to pull off. Historically, that's how it has been for a while. But history is not static. Politics is not static. As my colleague Massa said, a lot has evolved in Liberia. The dynamics have changed. Yes, in the last 3 election cycles, we had to go for runoffs, and there was need to work with other political groupings. But this is not to say that come 2023, there will be a runoff. I know we have an incumbent that has full control over our state resources, and they're doing everything to bribe individuals and political institutions to ensure that they win this election. But clearly, I think the Liberian people have seen well through that. And I'm not sure they want to go that route for the second time. Because just a few days ago, I was reading a survey report from a Pan-African based research institution called Afrobarometer. They conducted a survey a few months ago in late 2021, and they posed the question to Liberians as to how they felt about the direction of the country. 80% of the response they received was that the people were not satisfied. They want democracy, but they were not satisfied with the direction of the country. So that suggests to me that they don't like the way the affairs of the country is being run. And come 2023, if they go to that ballot box, they have to deal with their own consciences. Do we want this country to continue on the trajectory it is right now, or do we want to try an alternative? And we do have an alternative in Tiawan Gonglo because of his track record, as you've heard from my colleagues.
So Dr. Doe,
I will not discount the fact that this election could go one round.
Yeah.
It could go one round and not necessarily 2 rounds.
So Dr. Doe, what has Councillor Gunglo identified as the major problem of the country, and how does he intend to fix it?
Thanks for that question. Councillor Gonglo has, I think you heard from Mr. Batois, that this is the most visible politician, public figure we have at this point in time. You constantly see him engaging the media. You constantly see him making speeches to various institutions across the country. Now, Councillor Gonglo has put out there a 10-point plan called an agenda for better Liberia, of which Batois was one of the crafters of that plan. The plan addresses all sectors of our political economy, from the judiciary to agriculture, to education, to health, and so forth and so on. So that plan is out there. It's still being flushed out. It's still in its full developmental stages. But one of the first things the councillor intends to do, given his background as a lawyer and a student of law and politics, is to review all to go after corruption. We've heard so much about corruption from governments that have come and gone. We recall how the popular phrase that Ellen used one time, that corruption had reached its vampire stage. And we know what a vampire is. You know, there were a lot of rhetorics about corruption. Under the Ellen regime alone, if you recall, more than 40 audits were conducted by one of the integrity institutions, GSC, under Mr. John Molu. None of those audits, none of the recommendations that emerged from that audit was ever implemented. Nobody went to jail. Nobody was prosecuted. And those audits are still on the shelves, maybe in the GSC, gathering dust. So one of the first things, if Councillor Gonglo, God blesses him to become president of that country, he's going to review all of those audits and look at the recommendations that are in those audits and take some deliberate action on what needs to be done. It's one of the first things he intends to do in his 10-point plan. A second thing, I know Batois and Sis Massa will come in. Second thing is to ensure that the Liberian judiciary is maintain a level of independence without influence from the executive. I mean, we've seen how cases go to court. We don't know how eventually end up. The culprits usually end up going scot-free because of some influence coming from higher authorities and what have you. Under a Gunglo administration, he will ensure that the separation of powers exists amongst the three branches of government, that the judiciary maintain a level of independence that we've never seen before, because you heard that he's been practicing law for 30 years. So he knows the inner workings of that branch of government, as well as the inner workings of the executive. So he will ensure that the judiciary maintains its independence. It's not influenced by any higher up from the executive whenever decisions are made. Similarly, he will ensure that the work of the police is carried out as it should be, without a lot of interference coming from lawmakers, from any members of the judiciary. I will stop there, and I guess as the conversation proceeds.
Thank you, Theo. Prince.
Yes, let me ask one more, then turn things over to you. So I'd like to also know from the team in the studio, the issue of disadvantaged youth in Liberia is a challenge. All across the country you go, you see disadvantaged youth. Most of them on drugs. This is a challenge that any government will face. And then the issue of insecurity, mysterious death all across the country. How does Gonglo's leadership intend to address this issue? I mean, if he is elected as president of Liberia.
Thank you. Massa or Joe, you want to take that?
No, absolutely. I will definitely take that. So the question that the producer in the studio is asking is a question that borders on the general concept and principle of human rights. So now, all 13 chapters of the 1986 Constitution of the Republic of Liberia and its subsequent 97 articles, the foundation and the bedrock for those 13 chapters and 97 articles of the Liberian Constitution is bordered on human rights. It's all about the human rights and civil liberties of the Liberian people. So while it is split into different categories, you talked about governance, judiciary, this, that, and what have you. The bottom line is all about human rights. Now you have a candidate in Councillor Gonglo who is a human rights guru. Now you're talking about the issues of the disadvantaged youth that people like to refer to as Zocos and what have you. These are issues that has to do with the human rights, the lack of appropriate policies to address what has happened to them as a nation. Some of them, I would not say all of them, because like I said, things evolve, things have changed, has shifted over the years. Some of them are direct of victims of the Liberian Civil War. Some of them were child soldiers yesterday who were fighting people wars for them, who people introduced to drugs, who people gave drugs to fight a war, and today they are left by the wayside. Some of them may not necessarily be former child soldiers, but they are just Liberian children who have been, again, victims of the Liberian Civil War. Some of their families have died. Some of them, their families are alive, but they are so poor, the war has made them poorer than ever before. So you need a government that is thinking human rights, that is human rights in scope, that will look at these issues, these social issues, and design social policies bordering around the rights of this individual to have housing, the rights of these young people to have treatment for their mental health, to seek treatment for drug addiction is a mental health sickness. It's a sickness. So you need a government that understands fundamental human rights and civil liberties to be able to craft the kinds of policies that we need that will address this kinds of situation. And there is no other candidate in this race that can speak of really understanding the issues from a human rights perspective than the human rights guru himself, Councillor Terence Gonglo. This is why, for me, it's the human rights part of him that is a big thing for me. Because someone who comes from a human rights background knows what it is to be disadvantaged and his experiences over the years. So definitely, as a human rights or magician, as someone who dabbles in the issue of human rights, who knows the Constitution, he's a constitutional lawyer, he will know what the Constitution says about the rights of each and every citizen of the Republic of Liberia. So he will be in a better position to deliver to the Liberian people.
Thank you. Let me go to you, Joe. And Joe, the political field in Liberia is already crowded, and Councillor Gunglo is coming to the game maybe a little late. At this point, we have, now you see, they say political leaders. The LPP he represents, and earlier you talk about nominal parties or parties being run, is one of the very, very small parties that has not, maybe have not done anything for a long time. But one of the challenges here that he's facing is coming to a crowded field, and also the issue of money, resources that people are using to win election. Again, how does Councillor Gonglo intend to raise money for his campaign and get the kind of name recognition and also the party behind him that will make him win?
Yes, that's true. There's issue of money in Liberian politics, especially when you're going against a president whose administration has seen $16 billion vanish within a 3-mile distance from the free port to the central bank, 16 billion Liberian dollars. A president who at some point in the very first few months of his administration thought that he was the central bank governor, or he knew better. So he took 25 million US dollars liquid cash to mop up to carry to some kind of obscure place somewhere and mop up the economy. Of course, we are all facing, especially people in Liberia, are facing the disastrous impact of that. A president who, in the very first year of his administration, without declaring his private asset prior to becoming president, was able to construct 17 luxury buildings, mansions for himself. So going against such a president in an election means that this guy is, he has unlimited access to the national coffers. So I will characterize that as the 21st century version of the David versus Goliath scenario. But those of us who believe in the integrity, in the character of Councillor Gonglo are not sitting supinely. That is why on the 14th of this month, just 10 days from today, right there in Atlanta, Georgia, where you are, we'll be introducing a new way of supporting candidates in Liberia. Because in the past, what people did was that those who were seeking public offices went to places and started sharing money. I was not in Monrovia, but in a by-election involving Thomas Fowler and Senator Dillon, I learned that boxes of Liberian dollars were carried by the Fowler campaign. So people who were supporting or pretended to be supporters of Fowler was dishing out money as if money was just as Councillor Gunglo said last December, as if he had a money-making machine. But what happened? When time came, the Liberian people knew that the money that Father was sharing, new brand Liberian dollars, after the government the party for which he was the candidate in the administration of that party, 16 billion of those Liberian dollars have just vanished. So they took the money.
Sorry, Mr. Batua, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. How is Councillor Gunglo going to find the money if you are raising money here? What are some of the programs you have to raise money? I mean, we're talking millions here now in Liberian elections. How Councillor going to get the money?
Yeah, that's what I was just indicating about the David versus Goliath. So our David is trying to gather his stone, knowing very well that this Goliath in Liberia is an infamous fighter who has fought all around, who has all the resources at his disposal. Right. That's what this May 14, 2022 gathering fundraiser in Atlanta, Georgia is the beginning. Here, the most visible beginning of the support for Councillor Gonglo. And we are hoping that the gentleman himself will be there. And since you live in the metropolitan area in Georgia, in Atlanta, we are hoping that you too will be at the program so that you will see the spontaneity of the support, of the overwhelming support that the Councillor at Law has among ordinary Liberians. Maybe you followed the December 4th launching in Ganta last year. So we are leaving no stone unturned to ensure that our candidate is financially equipped to take on those political Goliaths in Liberia.
Thank you.
If I may just add, Dennis, to what Joe has just said, we have a big program coming up on the 14th here in Atlanta. In fact, I'm going to come and get you and bring you to the program. So we're launching our first major fundraiser. This is going to be a grassroots campaign. So most of our contributions will be coming from ordinary people. In fact, within our own Friends of Gunglo structure, we have what we call our weekly rallies. Every week, we call upon our supporters, our members, to contribute whatever they have towards that rally. And as we move forward, we're going to be having series of fundraisers across the United States, appealing to ordinary Liberians to support a candidate who is all about good governance, who is all about human rights, and all of that. So come May 14, all roads lead to Atlanta, where you and I live. And I hope I can see you at that event. And we hope to begin the process of raising money as a 501c4 organization to support our candidate. We're not going to follow the traditional path where one man who have stolen so much billions is able to spend a year there to buy people up. We want to make this campaign one. We want the people of Liberia, the ordinary average Liberians, to own this campaign. Let them own it. So that's our whole goal. We want the Gonglo campaign to be owned by the people of Liberia, by the masses of Liberia. And we are convinced that will make a difference.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia, live on Prime FM 105.5. I'm in a conversation with friends of Gonglo Global, and we're going to be ending the show. And after this one, we have part 2, which is we're going to be talking about the court cases going on in Liberia. As you may have heard, former Vice President Joseph Newman Boakai is a witness in the criminal case involving Mr. Alexander Cummings. And also we heard about the NEC case, also that the Solicitor General has met with Mr. Boakai. What does this all mean? So we're going to call a lawyer here to break it all down. So I want to thank you all so much for coming. At this time, we're going to go around the room for your closing. But what I want you to mention in that also is, and I know the councillor will be coming to Georgia, as you stated, so you can tell us a little bit more about that program. And one person can tell me again the Gonglo plan or the Gonglo's difference, why you think viewers watching you now, what you want them to know about Gonglo and why they should be voting for Gonglo. And then another person can also tell me what Gonglo is going to do differently, or is he just going to be criticizing? So let's go around the room and get your closing comments for a minute each. Let me start with Ms. Washington.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dennis. What do I think he will do differently from the rest of the candidates? I think he will do a lot, and he will do what people would love to see, what people have been hoping for a long time in Liberia. I think Tier 1's presidency will usher in that real new Liberia that we've been talking about for the past 42 years, that we've been yearning for, that we've been praying for, the miracle that we've been looking for the past 42 years. Tier 1 has the potential, the capacity, he has the good heart, the goodwill, the intention, and also he has the experience to really deliver that new Liberia. So in other words, what I'm trying to say in short is that he will set the new stage for the way the narrative of Liberia is going to look now moving forward.
Thank you. Joe?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Jai. Let's take a scenario where a patient goes to the clinic or a hospital. That patient needs a better diagnosis in order to get a better cure for their problem. So last year, in September 4th, 2021, young Liberians headed by Councillor Jimmy Mumbo met in Buchanan, and they drafted a 10-point agenda for the Gonglo movement. And coincidentally, I too, in November of 2018, I published a book entitled An Agenda for a Better Liberia, a common sense approach to nation building. The coincidental aspect is that the gathering in Buchanan, they identify our inability to enforce or practice the rule of law as a major problem. Corruption, which is very cancer, which is corrosive, is symptomatic of our inability to enforce law. Like Dr. Doe just made reference to 40 or more audits that were conducted during the Ellen administration, and then there was no further action taken. So those who do the stealing, they go around gloating as heroes because they don't bear the consequence. So the Gonglo movement has identified our inability to impartially enforce the rule of law. That's why the movement is saying that during the Gonglo administration, there won't be any executive interference with law enforcement, like here in Massachusetts where I am. The other day, just 4 days ago, a state representative was drunk. He was driving, and the police arrested him. We don't do that in Liberia. You see, people who come from Liberia now, they say everybody has convoy. Speaker has convoy, deputy speaker has convoy. They take 3 lanes, and the police is incapacitated to enforce the law. So the Gonglo administration will be it is the Gunglo movement is on a rescue mission because at the moment a celebrity abuse is taking place in Liberia. George Weah is a celebrity. He has big name. He's a soccer icon, but he doesn't have the competence. He doesn't have the know-how to do the job. So Liberians have now identified Gunglo. They are saying to our fellow compatriots that in the past we used big names, we used celebrities. This time around, we want when you go into the ballot to the ballot box in 2023, have in mind credibility, character, integrity. So we are on a rescue mission to rescue the Liberian nation. This is the mission, and we are appealing to all our compatriots who have who are still optimistic about our country, who don't believe that it should continue to be a crooks paradise, to join us. That is our appeal. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Doe, your closing comments, sir.
Yeah, first, I'd just like to say thanks, Dennis, for granting us the audience, giving us an opportunity to talk about the Friends of Gonglo, its activities, and to talk about the personality, Gonglo, who has thrown his hat into this race to seek the presidency in 2023. I want to also say that the Gonglo movement or the Friends of Gonglo is open to all Liberians. We're inviting all Liberians to come and be a part of this movement. We've well past that stage to be cynical, to lament about our problems, but we're reaching 2023, which will be a very critical period because the country is on the decline. And we as Liberians need to do something. We need good leadership that will restore good governance in that country. So I want to extend an invitation and an appeal to all Liberians, young, old, professional, non-professional, join the Gonglo movement, please. You know, our web address is friendsofgonglo.com. If you wish to contact us, you can send us an email to friendsofgonglo@gmail.com. Those are our contacts. We have our website. You can access us to find out more information about the kind of work we're doing. Finally, I want to invite all Liberians to join us in Atlanta on May 14th to hear Councillor Gonglo speak to us about his vision for that country, lay out his vision, and to help him raise money that will help sustain his campaign once the campaign takes full course come 2023, early in 2023. So again, our movement, our organization is open to all Liberians. Please reach out to us if you want to participate, if you want to donate, if you want to contribute, and be a part of this. Let's not sit on the fence anymore. Let's do something to change the trajectory. As Joe said, to change the generational trajectory. The young people of that country are going through too much. We shouldn't let this happen again for the next several years. So once again, Dennis, thank you so much. And I want to thank my colleagues too for making time to come on this talk show this evening. Thanks, Masa. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you so much. We're going to be taking a short break. We want to thank our viewers. And we say viewers, stay with us because we are coming with the second segment of the show, which is we're going to be discussing some legal issues taking place in our country because there were a lot of speculations going around. So we wasted no time but to get a legal mind to break it all down. So we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be joining Anthony James and Jensen, who's going to discuss the legal issue. Thanks and God bless.
At Focus on Liberia.